over the whole page, but let's start again up at the top. See, here's Bill, and at this point you might remember that this was his second time in the detox at the Charles B. Towns Hospital. His wife has just been informed that he's probably going to die, of heart failure during the DTs or go permanently nuts, irreversible brain damage within a year. He's 39 years old here, and up at the top he says, I, who had thought so well of myself, and my abilities, of my capacity to surmount obstacles, was cornered at last. So, what is that sentence actually telling us? See, what did he think? He thought he had power. He thought he could lick the problem. A lot of us, we come in here and we go, well, I need some group support to beat the problem. So we got a whole lot of people who can't beat the problem trying to help somebody else beat the problem. I, who had thought so well of myself, my abilities, and my capacity to surmount obstacles, was cornered at last. Now I was to plunge into the dark, joining that endless procession of sots who'd gone on before. Everybody remember what sot meant? It means a drunk. Okay, what's the word plunge mean? Flat. Okay. So everybody get a piece of paper, if you would. Draw a little curve that looks like that. Up at the top, write the word start. Down at the bottom, write the word splat. Splat. Anybody ever heard of watermelon that's been dropped off a four-story building onto a concrete sidewalk? Splat. Okay. We've learned in Bill's story, we saw where he started. He was, a teenager, 18, 19 years old when he started. He had all these plans and dreams. He had all of this talent, this amazing financial insight, and all this kind of stuff. We saw, what happened to this guy. He thought he was going where? Up. Where was he headed? Down the whole time. All right, now just looking at your own experience, go back to the start, and see if you can see where you are on this curve. Mark a little X wherever you are on the curve. Remember down here he'd been in treatment a few times. Right in the middle of it. Drinking was fun and all of his friends were alcoholics. All the domestic shit started happening in his life, the fighting and all that kind of stuff with his wife. Losing jobs, unemployment, all that. Remember all that from last week? Just look at your own experience, and see if you can see where you are on the doom curve. See if you can admit to yourself what direction you're headed. Is there a splat in your future? It's not about how much you drank or what happened to you when you drank. It's just what is your experience? What direction have you been headed? Always telling yourself, I'm not that bad, I'll never get that bad, it won't happen to me, all that kind of stuff. Everybody got an X on your curve? No? Everybody's got a blank curve, right? Okay. So he says, top page 8 again, says, now I was to plunge into the dark, joining that endless procession of sots who'd gone on before. I thought of my poor wife. Remember how self-centered he's been through this whole thing? And now he finally begins to think of somebody else. There'd been much happiness after all. What would I not give to make amends? What step was that? 8 and 9, right? But that was over now, too late. No words can tell of the loneliness and despair. Anybody know those two guys? Loneliness and despair? Anybody been there? Okay. I found in that bitter morass is like a swamp, self-pity. Anybody know self-pity? Nobody else in here besides me and Roy? Okay, quicksand stretched around who in all directions? See? He can't see any way out. See? And you know why he can't see any way out? There isn't any, right. See? There isn't any way out. That's why he can't see any way out. See, this is not a stupid man. See, I don't think we got any stupid people in here. Have you ever been in at that point where you couldn't see any way out? You know that experience? There's no way out. See, maybe that was the truth. Okay? What's the last thing we want to admit? There's no way out. Quicksand stretched around me in all directions. See, I had met my match. I had been overwhelmed. Alcohol was my master. See, so he is facing his powerlessness here. See, and this is an un-American thing to do. See, we're all raised with this never say die, never give up. See, if at first you don't succeed, do what? Right. See, that's all pounded into us, see, by our parents and by society and by educational systems and all that kind of stuff. See, and in its proper perspective, see, there's probably some good that comes out of it. See, but if you have an alcoholic who can't admit he has no power, see, what's that alcoholic going to do? He's going to try again. And what's going to happen? Splat. 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 Okay. Trembling. Trembling means what? Anybody in here ever trembled? Anybody in here ever made any amends? Trembling. I stepped from the hospital a broken man. Okay. See, is anybody in here broken? See, I was broken when I came to AA. I didn't want to admit it. See, I was trying to cover it up. But the truth was, I was broken. Okay. Self-confidence gone, can't rely on things human, problems would pile up. Remember all that stuff from the doctor's opinion? It was all true. See, I was broken, I could see no way out. See, I came to AA. Hey, I'm so grateful to be an alcoholic. Wrong. Okay, fear sobered me for a bit. Anybody in here tried to stay sober on fear ever in your life? Stay sober a bit? See, that's what happens. See, try to stay sober on fear. I'm afraid to take a drink. See, I got to remember how bad it was. That'll keep me sober. I like to see the newcomers. They remind me how bad it was. That'll keep me sober. It's all based on fear. Okay, that'll work for a while, see, but fear is a mental defense, and what we're going to learn when we get over chapter 3 is that there aren't any mental defenses. Okay, then came the insidious insanity of that first drink, see. At that point, what was he doing? He was not drinking, he was sober, see, when he takes the first drink, see, so he doesn't have any what? Control over not drinking, see. And once you have an open mind, this may begin to explain to you, see, this thing, why we always, see, go back, we stay sober for a while. See, there's no control over not drinking. Okay, and on Armistice Day, we now call that Veterans Day, 1934, I was off again. Everyone became resigned to the certainty that I would have to be shut up somewhere or would stumble along to a miserable end. See how dark it is before the dawn. Okay, have any of you ever been in that position? See, where everybody gave up on you? See, and have any of you been in a position, see, where maybe somebody in your family, husband, wife, kid, friend, something like that, you may be seeing this happen right now. You're watching people stumble along. See, most of us who've been in AA for a while have seen, some of the folks who come in and out, the permanent relapsers, and we just watch them. They have to stumble along. See, and what we know is that they're not going to find, see, happiness in their life. This is going to kill them. See, unless they can reach a point where they really want to stop drinking, see, and have an open mind looking for a solution. See, so anybody who's dealt much with alcoholics in your life, I'm sure, you've either been in this position or you have seen people in this position. It's very sad. It's tragic. See, some very wonderful, lovely, nice people, see, are just slowly and sometimes quickly dying. Okay, how dark it is before the dawn. In reality, that was the beginning of my last debauch. Debauch, I just read an interesting definition of that word yesterday in a book that Dave brought home. It's an encyclopedia of alcoholism. And they define the word debauch as a drinking spree generally characterized by uninhibited sexual activity. Anybody debauched in here? Very interesting. Okay. I was soon to be catapulted. Okay, does everybody know what a catapult is?
Launch.
It's a launch kind of thing which hurls something in what direction? Up. All right, now what direction is Bill going in? Down. See, so here he is plunging into the dark, and he uses the word, I'm soon to be catapulted. See, now, what we're going to see is that, frothy emotional appeal and hugs and AA meetings is not what catapulted Bill. See, he found a solution. It's the solution that we talk about in the book. So I was soon to be catapulted into what I like to call the fourth dimension of existence. I was to know, see, not to talk about or wish for. See, I was to know the promises. Happiness, peace, and usefulness in a way of life, see, that is incredibly more wonderful as time passes. See, now, my personal experience in Alcoholics Anonymous is that in 1982, when I came here, put the plug in my jug and sat around, see, learning cliches and hugging people and going to barbecues, see, as I wasn't catapulted anywhere. I kept plunging. My life got more unmanageable. I felt worse. It progressed, see, as I tried to control my drinking by not doing this and going to AA meetings. I wasn't catapulted anywhere. I kept plunging deeper into depression and fear and all kinds of things. See, it wasn't until I worked the steps, see, that this other thing began to happen. Okay, second to last paragraph says, near the end of that bleak November, in his biography, it was November 11th, I sat drinking in my kitchen. With a certain satisfaction, I reflected there was enough gin concealed about the house. See, alcoholics conceal their alcohol. Drug addicts stash theirs. Okay. Enough gin concealed about the house to carry me through that night and the next day. My wife was at work. I wondered whether I dared hide a full bottle of gin near the head of our bed. I would need it before daylight. Okay, now if you would, just get a picture of Bill sitting in this kitchen. He's probably got a 3-day growth of beard. See, his hair's kind of messed up. His eyes are all red. There's a big ashtray piled high there. He's got a cigarette hanging out of this, smoke coming up into one eye. He's kind of like his hand on a glass of gin. See, sitting there in his bathrobe. So he's just fucked up. See, and what's he thinking about? His next drink. See, making it through the night. See, he is totally consumed, see, with alcohol at this point. See, now, let's go back to the beginning, see, of Bill's story, see, where he was having a lot of fun drinking, see, and he had all these major plans. Remember, he was going to manage vast enterprises with the utmost assurance. He was going to be rich and famous, and he was going to prove to the world he was important, see. So, he started up here, see, and he ends up, see, about to go splat at this point. Let's ask ourselves, did he choose for that to happen? See, is he sitting in the point, see, that he's at right now because of a series of bad choices in his life? What do you think? How many people think he's choosing this? Anybody? All right, okay, so if he's not choosing it, what's happening? It's powerless. Okay. He's got a disease. Okay, is that pretty clear? This isn't a matter of choice. This is a matter of a progressive disease, see, which is close to killing him at this point. All right, so all you got to do, see, is on your doom curve, see where you are. See? How much choice do you actually have? See? If this is true, see, there's no choice in this. Absolutely no choice. Okay, he can't choose his way out of this. See? What do you think would happen if we run up to Bill at this point and give him a hug? Is that going to solve his problem? See? Tell him he needs to learn how to love himself. Tell him there's a little child within. If he just finds that, he'll be all right. Think that's going to solve his problem? Let's give him 40 questions. Hey, Bill, does this mess with your sex life? Hey, Bill, has this interfered with your career? What, you think he'd laugh? Okay, he probably would. See? So, see, that is not going to solve this guy's problem. Okay? So, at this point, he is about to undergo what a lot of us have undergone. It's called the 12-step call. And it's coming his way through a guy named Ebby Thatcher. See, now remember, in those days, there was nothing called AA. AA didn't exist. The 12 steps didn't exist. Meetings didn't exist. See, we didn't have any literature. We didn't have any hugs or activities or central offices or big books or any of that. See? So one of the things that we can understand simply by realizing that and reading this story is none of those things are really necessary, see, to bring about recovery from alcoholism. Okay? So we're going to find out what the program is, see, that brought about this guy's recovery. He is absolutely at the bottom, drinking himself to death at this point. Okay, so get this picture of Bill. See, he's sitting there and he's all screwed up. He says, my musing was interrupted by the telephone. See, the cheery voice of an old school friend. If you're interested in the names, that's Ebby Thatcher is the friend. They asked if he might come over. He was sober. Notice the italics? See, what do italics mean? Don't read this, ignore this. Doesn't mean anything, right? Okay. So he was sober. See, now, Bill writes that in italics, see, because he's been drinking with this guy, Ebby, ever since he was 19 years old. Ebby is a year and a half or so older than Bill. Bill's 39, Ebby's about 40 or 41. And Bill knows that if ever there was someone with a worse drinking problem than his, it's this guy, Ebby. See, and yet Ebby calls him up and comes over sober. Okay, so he was sober. It was years since I could remember his coming to New York in that condition. I was amazed. The rumor had it that he had been committed for what? See, the world seems to understand about alcoholic insanity. See, the people who don't understand about alcoholic insanity are who? Alcoholics. Not me. I don't have a problem. Okay. I wondered how he had escaped. Doesn't that make sense to you? Hey, way to go, Ebby. You're right. Of course, he would have dinner, and then I could drink openly with him. See, you might underline, see, the next 4 words, see, because these 4 words pretty much characterize the 4th column of my inventory. Unmindful of his welfare. Unmindful of his welfare. Okay, I thought only of recapturing the spirit of other days. There was that time we had chartered an airplane to complete a jag. If you're not familiar with the term jag, this means a spree, or call it a run these days. His coming was an oasis in this dreary desert of futility. Anybody thought that way when you were drinking? You know, life's a bore, all that kind of stuff. Very thing, an oasis. Drinkers are like that. Okay, now remember, Bill's drunk as this is going on. He says, the door opened, and he stood there fresh-skinned and glowing. There was something about his eyes. He was inexplicably different. Inexplicable means unexplained. See, what had happened? See, so as drunk as Bill is, he can see something different in his old buddy, Ebby. Now, he doesn't know what it is. See, he can just see that there is something, see, and it begins to gnaw at him immediately. See, I pushed a drink across the table. He refused it. Okay, you might underline that, see, and write the word test, see, in the margin of your book. And those of you who have done 12-step, I'm sure you've been tested a lot by people that you have 12-step. See, alcoholics generally do that. So he pushed a drink, or I pushed a drink across the table. He refused it. Disappointed, but curious. I wondered what had got into the fellow. See, he wasn't himself. See, so Bill he's got this thing. See, something's different about Ebby. Come, what's all this about? I queried. Queried is a word we don't see too often these days. It means I asked. Okay. He looked straight at me, simply but smilingly he said, let's all read the next 3 words together out loud. I got religion. All right, now, see, what does that do to Bill? Oh, shit. Oh, man. See, not Ebby. Oh, Christ, not my old butt. See, now, all you got to do is look at your own experience. Haven't you, somewhere along the line, had a friend, see, who had some kind of religious conversion? They became a Jehovah's Witness or joined a church or became a Jesus freak or a Christian or something, see, and they come up to you and they're just doing one of these, see, and I just sit there and go, So, see, Bill's got the same kind of closed mind and prejudice, see, and so Ebby uses the word religion, see, and here Bill's mind, blam, see, closes, prejudice comes up, see, that's what the next paragraph is about. He says, I was aghast. See, aghast means shocked. Oh, shit. Okay, so here's the prejudice. So that was it, see? And this is what we do. See, we make all these instant judgments, see, about people and stuff. All you got to do is look at your own experience. So that was it. Last summer, an alcoholic crackpot. Now I suspected a little cracked about religion. See? You met anybody who's been a little cracked about religion? Yeah, right. Okay, see, we don't want that. Okay, he had that starry-eyed look. Yes, the old boy was on fire, all right, but bless his heart, let him do what? Rant. Okay, I want to show you something about the word rant. Because this is, see, as soon as this whole thing about religion and God and all that comes up, see, we all get closed-minded and prejudiced. See, and this is what we expect. See, that's where ranting comes from. See, is ignorance and intolerance and stuff like that. See, so you might look at your own experience and see if you ever rant at people. See, I used to rant at people all the time. See, and all my rantings about various things in life all came from my ignorance and my intolerance. See, so, this is a prejudice that a lot of us have, and we, as soon as we hear the word God, religion, something like that, we expect to be ranted at. See, a lot of us learned that from various religions we were in as kids. When there were guys up there and, maybe women, and they're, demon rum and sin, and you're going to hell. All that kind of stuff. See, so Bill's expecting ranting. He says, bless his heart, let him rant. Besides, my gin would last longer than his preaching. Which makes perfect sense to me. I have received many lectures in my life about my conduct, behavior, and drinking, and if I couldn't just say, get out of my face, I would just sit there and smile at them and let them say it and just be thinking, as soon as you leave, down the hatch. And that's what I did. Okay. Now, Ebby does a good 12-step call, and you can learn a lot by studying the 12-step call that Ebby makes. He did no ranting. In a matter-of-fact way, he told how two men, now these two guys were from the Oxford group, their names were Roland and Sebro. Two men had appeared in court persuading the judge to suspend his commitment. They had told of a simple religious idea and a practical program of action. Okay, now underline those two things, simple religious idea and a practical program of action. This kind of interesting thing has happened in Alcoholics Anonymous in the ensuing 50 years or so. See, this practical program of action somehow got swept into a closet. See, and so a lot of people come to AA and they think that the simple religious idea is going to save their butt somehow. See, and that's all you need is the simple religious idea. See, but Alcoholics Anonymous is founded on these two things hooked together. See, one is a belief in the power of God, and the other is a program of action. All right, so those two things, see, are necessary in carrying the message. See, they're necessary in Alcoholics Anonymous, see, to work the steps and be what we call recovery. Okay, so a simple religious idea and a practical program of action. Now, before we go on, let me show you what the practical program of action looked like in those days. It wasn't 12 steps, it was 6 steps. So keep your finger on page 9, turn over to page 292. And on 292, you'll see the 6 steps as they were originally used in Alcoholics Anonymous and the message that was carried the first couple of years. And you might mark that page some days and write those things down. And if you take those ideas and then do a thorough examination of the 12 steps, you will see that they are the same thing, see, with a little bit different order. Bill later on said that the 12 steps, were written the way that they were written, really because he wanted to close all the loopholes through which a rationalizing alcoholic could wiggle. Right? And that's why we see so many more words up there, see, which close every loophole that can possibly be found. Okay? They had way too many wigglers in the early days. Okay. See how simple that was? See, those 6 steps, that was the message in the early days. See, do you see? See, there's nothing in there about meetings or hugs or little children within or any of that kind of stuff. See, there's nothing psychological, psychiatric, self-help about any of that. See, it's based on a religious idea, and it is a practical program of action based on that religious idea. Okay, let's go back to page 9. Okay, so they had told a simple religious idea and a practical program of action. That was 2 months ago. How many days in 2 months? 60. See, and the result was self-evident. It worked. See, so notice, here is Ebby Thatcher making a 12-step call by himself, having completed the steps. And how much sobriety does he have?
60 days.
60 days. All right. Now, anybody in here been told that you shouldn't get into the steps for a year? Wait a year. Don't, take your time. Wait for the fog to lift. Don't even think about it. See, I didn't do my 5th step until I was 5 years. See, a lot of that kind of stuff, see, goes on in AA today. See, that is not and never was the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. See, when AA started, if you wanted to be a member of AA, see, you had to take 3rd step before you ever even got to go to a meeting. See, if you wouldn't do that, you didn't get to go to a meeting. See? A sponsor wouldn't take you to a meeting, see, if you hadn't done the first 3 steps already. So here's Ebby. See, 60 days sober, the steps are done. He's changed. He's had a spiritual awakening. See, it's clear to Bill. It works. See, 60 days to either of these two guys is like this monumental thing. See? Anybody in here, when you were new, ever walk in, and see somebody, saying, I'm, my name's Cousin Red, and I'm 32 years sober, and sit there and go, oh, he's lying. He's lying. He couldn't have 30 years. Somebody else, saying they got a year and a half, they're lying. They're drinking on the side. They're taking pills. Anybody ever had that kind of stuff when you were new? They couldn't possibly stay sober that long. Okay. Last line of page 9. He had come, to rant and rave. He'd come to tell me I needed this. See? He came to tell me I had a drinking problem. See? He came for what reason? Belong to me if I cared to have it. Who's it up to? It's up to Bill. Okay, I was shocked. See? Holy cow, God. But interested. Certainly I was interested. I had to be, for I was what?
Happy, joyous, and free.
Hopeless, doomed. And he knows it. See? Now, one of the things we can see on this particular 12-step call is that, Ebby really didn't have a need to talk a lot about this to Bill. Bill had already learned this from who? Yeah, Dr. Silkworth and his own experience. He already knew about step 1. So Ebby, is telling him about, what we now call steps 2 through the rest of the program. The solution. Bill knew the problem. And what we see as we go through the book, if you don't understand the problem, the solution is useless to you. You can't see how simple and deadly this actually is. The rest of it is pretty much useless. Okay, he talked for hours. All right, childhood memories rose before me. I could almost hear the sound of the preacher's voice as I sat on still Sundays way over there on the hillside. There was that proffered temperance pledge I never signed. Proffered means like this. Here, take this. That's what to proffer something means. Those of you who aren't familiar with a temperance pledge, not a lot, but some religions ask you when you are a youth hitting your teenage years and stuff like that, to sign a piece of paper where you swear before God and your parents and the pastor or whatever that you won't use drugs, alcohol, or cigarettes, until you're 21 or maybe forever. It's called a temperance pledge. When Bill was 14, he was asked to sign a temperance pledge, and he told him to shove it, which makes perfect sense to me. So there was that proffered temperance pledge I never signed. My grandfather's good-natured contempt of some church folk and their doings. His insistence that the spheres really had their music. What does that mean? Well, there really is some kind of thing going on, something spiritual. But his denial of the preacher's right to tell him how he must listen. So Ebby's talking to Bill about God and coming to your own understanding of God and all that. And it's bringing up in Bill, in his own experience, he knew that his grandfather had lived that way. He had his own ideas or concept about God. Pretty good man. He helped a lot of people, and he died without fear. But his denial of the preacher's right to tell him how he must listen, his fearlessness as he spoke of these things just before he died, these recollections welled up from where? The past. So where is it all in Bill? If it wells up, it's down in here somewhere. It wells up, and it says it made me swallow hard. So look at your own experience. Have you ever been reading something, seeing a movie, talking to somebody, and had sadness or pain or something come up in you, and you don't want to deal with it, so you go, just like shove it back down. So here, Ebby is talking to Bill, he's bringing all this stuff up in Bill, and Bill goes, ugh. Okay, as soon as he does that, blam, into his mind comes that wartime day in old Winchester Cathedral came back again. Remember that, page 1 of Bill's story. Here lies a Hampshire grenadier who caught his death doing what? Drinking cold, small beer. Boom. He's beginning to wonder why that, was putting his life way back over here. Is that a coincidence? Now this makes him examine his old ideas about God. All right, as we go through this, I'd like you to just sort of look at your old ideas. See, and notice, see, what Bill is doing here, even though he's drunk, see, he's going through his own struggles about being open-minded. And a lot of us are very closed-minded, see, so you might just notice what Bill does here to become open-minded. So he starts looking at a lot of stuff. He says, I had always believed in a power greater than myself. See, what good had that done him to believe in the power greater than himself? Hadn't done him any good at all. Okay, see, you might look at, see, some of us have been very religious, and some of us have been atheistic, and some of us have been agnostic, and we're going to talk about all that in chapter 4. See, but no matter where we've been in terms of all this, where do we all end up? Here. Right here. See, right here. About to go splat. See, so Bill says, I'd always believed in power greater than myself. I had often pondered these things. Have you often pondered these things? Okay, I was not an atheist. Few people really are, for that means blind faith in the strange proposition that this universe originated in a cipher. A cipher means a zero. See, it came out of nowhere and aimlessly rushes nowhere. My intellectual heroes, the chemists, the astronomers, even the evolutionists, suggested vast laws and forces at work. Despite contrary indications, I had little doubt that a mighty purpose and rhythm underlay all. He believes there's something going on. He doesn't have a clue what it is. How could there be so much of precise and immutable law and no intelligence? The word immutable means unchanging. To give you an example, if me and Dave and Rick and Connie and President Bush and the Pope all climbed up on the roof, jumped off, see, how many of us would hit the pavement? All of us. See, that's because the law of gravity, see, doesn't care who's doing the jumping. See, it's an immutable law. See, it doesn't change because you're a nice guy, holy, rich, wonderful, powerful, see, or anything. It just, the law of gravity applies equally to everybody, immutable law. Okay, he says, I simply had to believe in a spirit of the universe who knew neither time nor limitation. See, beyond time and beyond space. See, the dimensions that we humans live in. But that was as far as I had gone. Okay, with ministers and the world's religions, I parted right there. See, the same thing happened to me. Okay? Get out of my face with this. When they talked of a God personal to me who was love, superhuman strength, and the D word, oh shit, don't tell me what to do. And what? Direction. See, I became irritated. Remember, restless, irritable, and discontented from the doctor's opinion? I became irritated. Have you been irritated with religion and spiritual things in your life at all? All right, and when you become irritated, what happens? Blam. See, my mind snaps shut against such a theory. Prove it. Okay, all that kind of stuff. So look, see if you can see any place in life where your mind closed, see, about all of this. See, were you open-minded as a kid? Were you religious as a kid? Were you spiritual as a kid? Did your mind close, become irritated? Does everybody remember the TV show Get Smart? Maxwell Smart. You remember right at the beginning he pulls up in this little Fiat or whatever it is, and he starts going into whatever the headquarters is, and as he's going down this corridor, all these doors close. Steel and rebar and concrete and all this kind of, see, that's an alcoholic mind. Boom. Okay. My mind snaps shut. Blam! See, against such a theory. See? So you might ask yourself, are you sitting here now, see, with a closed mind, see, and not too willing to look at, see, maybe there is a spiritual kind of solution to this, see, which is what the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is all about. See, so here's Bill, see, admitting to himself that he does have a closed mind. Ebby's talking to him about a spiritual solution. What's Bill having to look at? See, he's not going, oh, yay. See, this is wonderful. See, I want to be godly and a choir boy. See, he's having to look at his old ideas, examine them. So, see, just notice that there is a process here that he's going through to do that. Ask yourself if you need to do the same thing. See, to really examine your old ideas. See, about God and spirituality and religion and all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's go to top of page 11. This is great. To Christ I conceded. Everybody know what concede means? See, to give it up grudgingly. So to Christ I conceded the certainty of a great man, not too closely followed by those who claim it. See, what do we call people like that? Hypocrites. See, hypocrites. Okay, so Bill hates hypocrites, and now he tells us that he is one. See, his moral teaching, most excellent. For myself, we need to stop. Christ, I conceded the certainty of a great man, not too closely followed by those who claimed him. See, his moral teaching, most excellent. See, in whose judgment? Bill's, of course. See? For myself, I had adopted those parts which seemed convenient and not too difficult, and the rest I disregard. See? So look at your own life. See, even if you've been religious. See, ask yourself if you've hated hypocrites and if you've been one. See, I was a hypocrite. See, there were times when I had a Bible displayed on a coffee table or a bookshelf. See, and there were times when I quoted it. See, misquoted it is what I actually did. I used it for my own ends. See, sometimes I sought some comfort out of it and stuff like that. See, but I never was into actually doing, see, any of those things that are mentioned in the Bible. See, I used it kind of like drugs. All right, so when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I brought my hypocrisy in here with me. Right, and I remained that way for some lengthy period of time. So what I'm going to do is read this paragraph again, and I'm going to just change a couple of words and show you what I did, and you can look at your own conscience and see what's going on with you. Okay, so read the top of page 11. To AA, I concede the certainty of a great program not too closely followed by those who claim to be members. It's a spiritual program of action, 12 steps, most excellent. For myself, I adopt those parts which are convenient and not too difficult, and the rest, screw it. So you might look at your own, see, this is called coming up with your own program. I work my program, you work your program, kind of thing. See, and it came out of my hypocrisy. I was a hypocrite. See, and I passed that along to newcomers as truth, as something that would help them. See, when it was false, see, and it wasn't even helping me. Okay? So you can look at your own experience of that. See, I am a hypocrite. See, have been all my life. Okay, I was a hypocrite in Alcoholics Anonymous. Okay, the wars which had been fought, the burnings and chicanery. Chicanery means like politics and intrigue, see, and sneaky, backdoor dealings and all that kind of stuff. So the burnings and chicanery that religious dispute had facilitated. Facilitate means to make easy, see, to smooth the way. Made me sick. So ask yourself, you ever been made sick by religion and what you see in history and in the world and all that kind of stuff? Bill says, I honestly doubted. And see, if you're somebody who has had a lot of doubts about religion and God and spiritual people and all that, see, very likely your doubts are honest. See, you may never have been able to resolve them, but many of us who come to Alcoholics Anonymous, see, are full of doubt and skepticism and cynical, and we've seen a lot of stuff which has disillusioned us and those kind of things. You might look at your own experience, see, and if you find that you are full of doubts and that kind of stuff, maybe they're honest, maybe they are sincere, and it's okay to have them. And Bill says, I honestly doubted whether on balance the religions of mankind had done any good, judging from what I had seen, see, what his eyes and his experience told him, judging from what I had seen in Europe, see, what was that? That was during the war. See, and since the power of God in human affairs was what? Anybody doesn't know what negligible means? See, it means zero. Yeah, zero, practically non-existent. All right, see, and I'd like you to underline, see, the three words, power of God. See, the power of God in human affairs was negligible. See, the program, see, is not about belief in God. See, it's about finding the power of God. Okay, so all you got to do is look at your own experience. See, the world I live in, as I look at it, see, is full of people who believe in God, see, and cheat and lie and kill people, who are selfish and dishonest. See, I did the same things, see, while I believed in God. See, there was no power of God in my life, even though I believed in God. See, so notice the words that he uses, and so you begin to notice that as we go through the book, see, we keep talking, or they keep talking to us about, see, the power of God, and a power that is greater than ourselves. Okay. What does power mean? Anybody write down the definition from earlier? The power of God. See, not the belief in God.
What's the definition?
So judging from what I had seen in Europe and since, the power of God in human affairs was negligible. The brotherhood of man, a grim jest, a bad joke. Anybody here lived through the 60s? Remember, it was all peace and love. Screw your wife, brother. See? And, see what happened to all that? Okay, there was a devil. He seemed the boss universal, and he certainly had me. Anybody in here believe, see, for some period of time that, see, if there's a hell, that's where you're going? See, that's what I believed. See, I believed I was doomed to that if it existed, see, and I tried not to examine the possibility of its existence. See, I just tried to intellectually put that away because it scared the hell out of me. See? But I knew I couldn't stop doing the things that I was doing. See? So you might just see, look at your own experience in that sense. If there was a devil, he seemed the boss universal, and he certainly had me. Okay, so what are all those last 4 paragraphs? See, it's all his old ideas. All right, see, and he starts taking it apart, starts taking a look at it, asking himself, what have they done? Have they ever solved his problem to have those ideas? Okay, but my friend sat before me. What's his friend's name? Ebby Thatcher. See, he sat before me, and he made the point-blank declaration, see, boom, see, that God had done for him what he could not do for himself. Okay, number the next 3 sentences, 1, 2, and 3. Number 1. His human will had failed. Remember we learned about the will last week? See, the will is amazingly weakened when it comes to combating alcohol. Therefore, he has no control over his drinking or his not drinking. His human will had failed. He was powerless. Okay? What does a powerless alcoholic do? He enters treatment. See, what's the next sentence? See, there is no hope. See, for a real alcoholic or a real drug addict. Still true today. See, we now, see, instead of a few hundred treatment centers, we now have a few thousand treatment centers, and they all say the same thing. If you want to stay sober, do what?
Go to AA.
Go to AA. We can't, see, we can get you sober, but we can't keep you that way. Okay? Doctors had pronounced him incurable, just like AIDS. Okay? And number 3 is what? Society was about to lock him up, see? Alcoholic who stays alive and keeps drinking, drug addict who stays alive and keeps drinking, see, either ends up either in a jail or some kind of an institution, see, if they don't die. See, and that's still true today. Boom, boom, boom. His human will had failed. Powerless. Doctors had pronounced him incurable. Can't rely on anything human. Remember what we've learned? See, there is no human hope. See, society has one and only one way to deal with an alcoholic or drug addict in that condition. What's that? Lock you up. See, that's what happens. Okay, next sentence. See, very important. It says, like myself, he had done what? What step is that? Step 1. See, like myself, he had admitted complete defeat. Right? See, and every time we see step 1, it is immediately followed by step what? 2. Then he had, see, in effect, been raised from the dead, suddenly taken from the scrap heap, see, to a level of life better than the best he had ever known. See? It was how low can you go, see, and he got, see, Ebby got catapulted into a 4th dimension, then he's telling Bill about it. See, now, see, this weird thing happens in AA. We got all kinds of people trying to, see, raise themselves from the dead, see, but they never take the first step. See, notice the order there? See, 3 things are true. He is powerless. Doctors can't cure him. Society is about to lock him up. See, then he had, see, that's the evidence in his life. Then that evidence leads him to do what? Take the first step, admit that he's powerless, and then, working the steps, what happened? He found a solution. See, so notice how it goes in that order. You don't get to skip step 1. So you don't get to skip the doom curve, see, or the admission. Okay, see, and that's something we find over and over and over again in the book. Okay, had this power originated in him? Remember what power meant? See, this ability to do this? See, this power originated in him. See, in other words, is it what? Self-confidence, self-esteem, bunch of new ideas, a new philosophy of life? Is it coming out of his mind? See, is it his willpower? See, that's the question Bill has. How is he doing this? See, obviously it had not. there had been no more power in him than there was in me at that minute, and this was how much? None at all. See, Bill knows he's going to die, and he's sitting there drunk. Okay, that floored me. If that was written today, I would say, this blew my mind. It began to look as though religious people were right after all. Here was something at work in a human heart which had done what? The impossible. My ideas about miracles were drastically revised right then. So you make a little note in the margin, either in the left or right-hand side, to examine your own ideas about miracles. Look up the word miracle in a dictionary. See? You might also look up the term act of God in a dictionary. Learn some very interesting things. See, I used to think that miracles were things that only happened to 17-year-old girls named Bernadette in places like France. See? Apparitions of all kinds, stuff like that. They only happened 2,000 years ago. They only happened to holy people. See, I had a lot of ideas about miracles. See, you might look at your own ideas about miracles. See? Every idea I had about miracles started with not me. Couldn't happen to me. See, I've gone too far. I've sunk too low. I'm too bad. Okay? So my ideas about miracles were drastically revised right then. Never mind the musty past. What's the musty past? All his old ideas. See, here sat a miracle directly across the kitchen table. He shouted, "Great tidings." See, I've been in AA now 9 years, and I've seen many people who look like they got run over by a bus sit in an AA meeting and say, "Oh, a miracle." Right. We're all miracles in here. Yeah, right. Okay. I saw that my friend was much more than inwardly reorganized. See, this ain't a bunch of new ideas and cliches and slogans. See, he's on a different footing. How did he get there? He worked the steps. His roots grasped the new soil. Anybody remember where the roots are on page 62? Selfishness and self-centeredness. See, here's Ebby doing something unselfish and unself-centered. Okay, despite the living example of my friend, there remained in me the vestiges of my old prejudice. The word vestiges means traces. Okay? Prejudice, most of us, we see that word and we immediately start thinking in terms of racial stuff. See, I hate these people and I hate those people and they're all like that. See, prejudice, let me give you the definition. It means preconceived ideas. Preconceived ideas without an examination of the facts. Preconceived ideas without an examination of the facts. So you might start asking yourself, do I have any prejudice when it comes to terms like God and spiritual awakening? Do I have prejudices about Alcoholics Anonymous and alcoholism? See, all that kind of stuff. See? There remained in me the vestiges of my old prejudice. The word God still aroused a certain antipathy. Antipathy is a negative feeling that you get right about here, see, when you hear something you don't like. Everybody know what I'm talking about? See, it just produces a reaction in you. See, so Bill is so close-minded and screwed up, see, on this issue of God that all you have to do is say the word God, see, in a room where he is, and he goes, ugh. Okay? Now, anybody else had that in your life? Ugh. Yeah, me too. Okay, when the thought was expressed that there might be a God personal to me, see, a God that he can have an experience of, see, a miraculous kind of thing, see, this feeling was intensified. So, turns into, see, oh shit, I hate that idea. Okay, I didn't like that idea. So I could go for such conceptions as creative intelligence, universal mind, or spirit of nature. But I resisted the thought of a czar of the heavens, however loving his sway might be. See, a lot of us have these punishing gods and stuff that we learned when we were kids. See, and the thought, see, of this God running our life or taking over our life, see, just makes us go, oh, shit. See, and we get all these fears, and I'll never get laid again, and I'll be made a missionary, and I got to shave my head and eat rice and chant, and, all this stuff starts coming up. Yeah. See, and we don't like the idea. Anybody got those kind of things go on with you? Yeah. Okay, see, Bill is suggesting here some non-human concepts of God. Okay? Creative intelligence, universal mind, spirit of nature. Is anybody in here raised a Catholic besides me? I just want to share with you one thing I learned when I was a small little newcomer Catholic. And that was, I was taught to be closed-minded and prejudiced about stuff like this. That's what I learned in Catholic school. And I was made to be very afraid of doing stuff like going into somebody else's church. We couldn't attend anybody else's church services. We couldn't go to weddings, or baptisms, or any kind of religious service that some other, maybe the next door neighbor or a cousin, or, even a family member, we couldn't go because that was a sin. Okay, and that thing in me, that closed-mindedness and fear, that I had learned as a kid, I carried with me all of my life, and I wasn't even aware of it. And so when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, this idea of choosing your own conception of God, I found I had quite a struggle with it, because it threatened some very old beliefs that I had, that every time I would try to choose my own conception of God, I'd get afraid. And I didn't understand where that fear was coming to, until I went through this process that Bill went through and started looking at my old ideas, and saw that I had literally been taught to be closed-minded, as a kid. Right, so, if you were raised with those kind of ideas, you might begin to examine them and see if they work for you now, and what it would take, to let go of them and to be open-minded, in terms of having a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience. There's nothing in here. If you're still a Catholic, that's fine. That kind of stuff. All I'm saying is that I misunderstood and misused most of the Catholicism that I was taught. And I had a lot of trouble as a result of that. If you're still a member of the Catholic religion and going to church, that's great. You don't have to give up your old ideas. But some of us do have great difficulty with this. Okay. So he says, last sentence there on page 12 says, I have since talked with scores of men who felt the same way. Felt antipathy. Doesn't say thought the same way. It says felt the same way. So, begin to ask yourself, how have you felt about all this? How do you feel, when those people come and knock on your door on Saturday morning and want to talk to you about God? How have you felt about all this? How open-minded, have you been? Okay, we're going to go over this next sentence, and then we're going to take a break. Okay, it says, my friend suggested what then seemed a novel idea. Novel means new, or innovative. It doesn't mean a book in this context. It means new or innovative. He said, all right, here's some italics. What do we know about italics now? Don't read them. Don't pay any attention to this. It's meaningless. He says, why don't you choose? Why don't you choose your own conception of God? I see, and that to me, having had the old ideas that I had all my life, was an absolutely new idea. To me. I never realized that was a possibility. All my life I've been running around when I've done things in a religious or spiritual nature, trying to figure out who was right. Who's got the best pipeline to God, who's right, which religion is right, which path is right. It never occurred to me, that I could choose a conception of God that worked for me and then pursue that, and totally disregard every other concept of God that ever existed, if that's what it took. Brand new idea. So while we take a break, and please try to keep it to 10 minutes, because we still have a lot of stuff to go through, think about that. This whole idea of choosing a new concept of God, or a canon. Okay. Let's go to the middle of page 12. Where it says, my friend suggested what then seemed a novel idea. He said, why don't you choose your own conception of God? Okay, so some of us, when we come to Alcoholics Anonymous, don't have a big problem, but a great many of us do have quite a problem with this. So I've got something up on the board here, which might be of some assistance to you if you are having some trouble with this. I had quite a bit of trouble with it. And what I've done is put the word God up at the top and then just made two columns. The left-hand column says what I believe, and the column on the right says what I need. Okay, now what I had to do, I found that every time I said a prayer, this antipathy would start. It's not really going to work. There's not, this is not for me. This kind of stuff would go on. And I found that I really had to examine my old ideas and beliefs about God and a higher power and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to write some things up here. You can use them if they seem true for you, if they're part of your experience. I'm not putting this up here as universal truth about everybody. It's just old stuff that I had, and I had to start taking a look at. See, I've gone through a pretty major portion of my life considering myself to be a spiritual seeker. It was all through the 70s I was doing that. I got into Eastern philosophy and Christianity and Judaism and Enlightenment trainings and just on and on and on. All this kind of stuff. So I was really a dilettante and intellectually arrogant. And I had, I could talk metaphysics with the best of them. Yak. See, but the fact was I couldn't stay sober, and I was a miserable, unhappy individual. See, so I had to start looking underneath all this head knowledge that I had picked up over the years to see what I really believed about God. And I came up with some rather simple and unsophisticated kind of things which embarrassed me to look at. See, but in my picture, God was male, had a human form. Very simple belief, and I've had it all my life. And this picture was the same picture that I found on the Baltimore Catechism number 2 when I was a kid going to Catholic school. We might look and see what your pictures of God are. Is it male, female? Is it a human form? See, in my belief, God was angry and jealous, unfair. You never figure this out. See, God had these chosen people and these unchosen people. See, it never made any sense to me. God to me and God's universe to me had always been unfair. See, some of us are born healthy and others are born deformed and sick. And see, some are born into wealthy families and some middle-class families, and some of us are born in ghettos. See, there's all this various stuff that goes on, none of which looked fair to me. How could all this be going on if there was a fair God? So God obviously is unfair. To me, God was a tester. See, there's this whole business about, so you get squirted into this world, whatever circumstances you end up, you don't have any choice about that. See, you may or may not be taught right from wrong, good from bad. You may have good parents or weak ones, and you may, all these various things go on. You have to kind of stumble your way through life, do the best that you can, be a good person, don't commit any sins. You die, see, your soul goes to the Hall of the Mountain King, and they got a scorecard there. See? And, in my case, it was door number 2, Johnny. See, so, see, to me, it was all, see, this test. See, you're on your own here. Kind of, that's the way I've always viewed it. Okay? To me, God, see, was not about purpose, direction, or any of that. See, God was about right, wrong, and punishment for transgressions and doing things wrong, making mistakes. So, I had quite a list of things here, see, which are very simple, very unsophisticated. Like I said, they embarrassed me somewhat to admit that, see, here I am running around. At this point, I was 38 years old. And I still had all these little childish kind of ideas about God, see, in my guts, my beliefs. And I saw that all these things that I believed about God were all fearful kinds of things, see. So most of my old ideas about God were fears, see, of what God actually was, stuff like that. And that was pretty instructive to me. And it made me realize by doing that why I was having so much trouble praying, see, and why I couldn't take step 2, see, or step 3. Anybody else done this thing? You take step 3, I turned it over and I took it back. And I turned it over and I took it back. And I see, maybe there's some underlying ideas that are bringing that about in your life. Okay, so once I saw this, I saw, see, that, if this is what God really is, see, then there's no way this God is going to restore me to sanity, because a God like that wouldn't do that. See, a God like that would like to keep me in the condition that I'm in. Okay, so obviously I'm going to have to let go of my old ideas. I have some needs. See, what are the needs that I have, see, for, see, a higher power? Well, see, to me, it would start off with stuff like this: forgiveness. See? In my case, some mercy, because I've done a few unforgivable kinds of things. Anybody else done anything you think regarded unforgivable at all? Direction. Purpose, courage, and willingness. And as I really started looking at what I need, and I hope you can see that I was serious about what I was doing here. See, this is not just an intellectual, oh yeah, this is good for information kind of look.
was actually trying to find something here. And what I could see is that, see, these are all things I don't have much of. See, and that if I simply come to a belief that God exists, that doesn't cover this. See, I'm going to need an experience of this in my life. See, a belief about it. See, that God's up in heaven somewhere, even though he may be kind and loving, see, is still going to be insufficient. See, there are definite needs that I have if I'm going to work the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And so you might see if that makes some sense to you. See, and you can start taking a look at which one of these columns you think is going to work in terms of step 2 and step 3, see, for you. See, and see, this is not a concept of God that I have ever had. And I'm going to explain to you why in just a couple of minutes, 2 sentences. See, but this is just a way to see, begin to be open-minded if you're having trouble, see, with this whole thing about a spiritual solution. See, and we're going to keep seeing terms like open mind and let go of your old ideas and your fears and all that kind of stuff. See, so see if that makes sense to you. See, and fill out your own copy. See what it is for you. Okay? Let's go to the next paragraph. It says, that statement hit me hard. It hit me very hard. See, one of the things that I needed was a God that would let me choose my own conception of God. See, because to me, even that was a fearful thing to be doing. I left one out here, and I always need to talk about this, and I didn't. Oh, boy. Slack. Everybody, cut me some slack. See, God, as I always understood God, see, ran the universe on a one strike and you're out. See, kind of system of rules. Give you an example, as a little Catholic, we were taught that if we missed Mass on Sunday, for example, and got hit by a car, we'd go to hell because missing Mass on Sunday was a mortal sin. And it really didn't make any difference whether you were 46 years old and had never missed Mass before. See, if, on February the 9th, a Sunday, you didn't make it, see, to church, and at noon you got hit by a car, see, you're not only a dead man, you fry for eternity. See, that's the way I got it. See? That's how it went into me. That was my belief, see, about all this. All right, see, that's no slack, right? See, stuff like that has never made any sense to me. See, but God over here was definitely a no slack kind of a God. See, everything's firm and rigid and all that kind of stuff. And I could see that if I have to work these steps and become honest and make my amends and do all that, I'm not perfect. And as long as I'm sincere, I'm going to need a little room, see, in case I make a mistake somewhere along the line, see, or encounter some unwillingness pocket or something like that. See, so you might see if you've had this, no slack kind of idea about God in your life. See, and maybe begin to be open-minded that maybe there's a power greater than you that will cut you a little slack if you're sincere and take some action. Okay, back to the middle of page 12. It says, that statement hit me hard. It melted the icy intellectual mountain in whose shadow I lived and shivered many years. Everybody know the word cold? He's a cold son of a bitch. What do we mean when we say the word cold? See, no feelings, no emotions. Guy lives in his head. She lives in her head. See, they're cold. That was a cold thing to do. See, all that kind of stuff. See, even as teenagers, we love the word cool. See, that's like the one teenage slang word that never goes away. Cool. See, what's cool? No feelings. See, it's just cool. See, it's the beginnings of the icy intellectual mountain. See, so you might see if you've been living in your head, see, all your life. See, and see what happened as a result of that. See? Melted the icy intellectual mountain in whose shadow I had lived and shivered many years. I stood in the sunlight at last. See? Here comes some italics. What do italics mean? Skip this, right? Ignore this. Okay, it was only a matter of being willing to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. It was only a matter of learning how to love myself. It was only a matter of dealing with my feelings. It was only a matter of discussing my problems. See? You see any of those things in that sentence with italics in your book? See? Remember, none of that really even existed at the time Bill was doing that. See, meetings didn't exist. See, it was only a matter of being willing to do what? Believe. What's that? Step 2. in a power greater than myself. See, notice that it doesn't say it was only a matter of being willing to believe in God. See, it's in what? The power that is greater than myself. See, nothing more was required of me to make my beginning. See, and a lot of our AA groups, see, we just heap all kinds of requirements on newcomers. See, do this, and 5 of these, 9 of these. See, go here, go there, da-da-da-da-da. See, all kinds of other requirements. See, but what's required, see, is a belief in a power greater than ourselves, and then action along the lines of the 12 steps. Okay, now go back to the first sentence in italics. I found this very interesting. It says, it was only a matter of being willing to believe in a power greater than myself. I went back over here to my little list of old ideas. See, and this list was quite a bit longer, and this list was quite a bit longer. See, but I began to notice something very, very strange. See, and that is, as God, as I had always carried these beliefs and fears around, was not a power greater than myself. And the way I found that out is going down the list, see, I find that I'm human. That's not a power greater than me. I've been angry, I've been jealous, unfair, I test people, I punish people, I cut people no slack. See, and everything I had, see, these old ideas about God was me. God had a name. They blew me away. See, everything I was afraid of when it came to God, see, was a human thing, and it was me. See, every single one of my fears. See, if you take an honest look, see, you might find the same thing. See? Now, those of you who are familiar with the Bible, you know that in there it talks about God making man in His image. See, but what did this man do? Made God in His image. See, that's what I did. I didn't even know it. I never realized it. See, until I started to do what Bill did, which was to examine my old ideas. See, and once I was willing to do that honestly with an open mind, see, problems that I was having with the program and the steps began to, see, make themselves known. Very interesting. Okay, so it was only a matter of being, well, one other thing. So you go over here. See, I started taking an honest look. Have I ever forgiven anybody? No way. See? Anybody ever tried to forgive and forget and found you couldn't? See, besides me? Yeah, doesn't work. Okay, I've had no mercy for people. See, I've never... I would wake up at various periods in my life and ask myself what I'm going to be when I grow up. See, I've always felt uncomfortable around people who seem like they're adults. See? Anybody else ever had that? There are people in the world who seem like they're adults, and I don't fit in. See, I've never had any direction, see, or purpose. See, no matter what I'd done or what kind of success or anything went on, see, it never seemed to me like a direction or purpose. It was always kind of a useless thing. I've always felt adrift and lost and alone. I've never had any courage. I've done a few brave things driven by fear in my life. But in terms of courage, you know, the kind of courage to stand up for principles and be honest and, you know, back somebody else up, all that, I've never had any of that. My life is characterized by unwillingness and foot dragging and skid marks and whatabouts and, you know, attempts to be intellectual to cover up my fear and all that kind of stuff. And I've never cut anybody any slack. See, in my life, you make one mistake, see, I'll use it against you 27 years later if it suits my purpose. See, never cut anybody any slack. See, so all of these things that I need, see, have to come from a power greater than me because I don't have this. See, I could wish for this as much as I want to wish for it, but I can't make this come true. So it's something that you might begin to look at in your own experience. Okay, Bill says, I saw that growth could start from that point. Growth's an important word in Alcoholics Anonymous because sobriety, as Alcoholics Anonymous sees it, is based on spiritual growth. See, it's not the other way around. See, many of us have the idea that we get ourselves sober and then we can get around to some spiritual growth when we get uncomfortable. See, and see, about 90% of us die as a result of that particular belief. And Bill says, I saw that growth could start from that point. See, upon a foundation of complete. Everybody know what complete means? Entire what? Willingness. What's the evidence of willingness? Action. Not talk. Not attendance. See, upon a foundation of complete willingness, I might build what I saw in my friend. Would I have it? Of course I would. See, so here's Bill. He's in this hopeless condition, remember? He knows he's going to die. He's convinced of that. See, everything medical and psychiatric has failed him. Here's a guy with 60 days carrying this message to him, see, and he's going to go for it. See, does he have a choice? See, he really doesn't have a choice. See, it's do this or die. He knows that. See, so can you see why it's necessary to take step one before this solution can make any sense to you? See? Because who's going to choose to do this? Any of you walk in here and go, oh, boy, I get to find God? Not a single one of us. Anybody come in here because you want to be holy or a choir boy? Anybody? None. Okay. Thus was I convinced. Remember that word, convinced? That God is concerned with us humans when we, notice the next word, want. It doesn't say need. It says when we want Him enough. See? At long last I saw, I felt, I believed. See? So no more is it about my sponsor or, in our case, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob and the first 100 people. See, now it's about us. See, coming to this realization ourselves. Scales of pride and prejudice fell from my wife's eyes. See, now she loved me and knew how hard I was trying. Fell from whose eyes? Have you ever run around, taking other people's inventory, trying to get them to understand, pull the pride and prejudice off their eyes? What good does that do you? Never did me any good. Okay, a new world came into view. See, it doesn't say that the world changed. See, the world stayed the same. See, but his point of view changed as a result of what? The removal of pride and prejudice. Okay, his own. Okay, the real significance of my experience in the cathedral burst upon me. Ever had an aha experience? Aha, got it. Okay, for a brief moment I had done two things. Notice the order, needed and wanted God. All right? See, this is very important. Let's imagine that there are railroad tracks right here. And I'm standing on them, and I'm drunk. I got, a firebrewed Stroh's in this hand, and a joint in this hand, and I'm fucked up. Okay, now all you guys have gotten off the railroad tracks. Okay, and you can see, because of your point of view, that behind me there's a freight train coming, and it's doing about 80 miles an hour. All right, so you try, to make me aware, of the danger that I'm in, but I just too screwed up to listen. See, does a need for me to get off the tracks exist at this point? Yes. Am I aware of it? No. What will be the result of the need and my unawareness? Black. Right? Everybody clear about that? So the need exists, but I'm unaware of it and splat. Okay. Now, here I am on the tracks again. Firebrewed Stroh's, adieu. Okay? The train is still coming. See, you start saying, hey, asshole, turn around. You're in danger. See, so I turn around. And I go, yeah, you guys are right. There is a train. But you're wrong. It's not going 80 miles an hour, it's going 8 miles an hour. Does the need for me to get off the tracks exist? Yes, sure does. Here, I'm on the tracks, here comes a train. See? And I'm aware of the need. See? And here I am. What's going to happen? Splat. See? So the need can exist and I'm aware, I die. The need can exist, I'm unaware, I die. See? I would have to turn around, recognize the danger, and want to get off the tracks. See? And as soon as I want to, then what do? Okay. Ding, 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 ding. See? So need is not good enough. See? What did I have to do? I had to take action to get off of the tracks. Okay? And in order to do that, I had to want to do it. See? So Bill says, for a brief moment, I had needed and wanted God. See? So if we simply look at the experience that the United States and the world is having with alcoholism and drug addiction these days, does it look like there's a lot of people in need? What happens to most of them? They die. Splat. See? They get hit by the train. Why is that? No want. See? No want. Obsessed. Okay? So Bill says, for a brief moment, I had needed and wanted God. So what do you need to do? See? You got to examine that, for yourself. Nobody can tell you where you are with need and want. Nobody could tell me. See? We got to have an open mind, take our own look. See? You don't have to believe it. You can still, You can say everybody in the world is wrong, the book's wrong, AA is wrong. Say, I'm not that bad, and splat. See? It's up to you. Okay, there had been a humble willingness to have him with me, and he came, but soon the sense of his presence had been blotted out by what? Worldly clamors. I forgot to bring the worldly clamors in. Okay. Mostly those within myself. Everybody know what worldly clamors are? Anybody ever clamored for sex, money, food, companionship, love, romance, jobs, careers, cars, houses? See, when those things are going on, where are they going on? Inside. See? Absolutely, totally distract us, see, from what we need to be doing. See? Worldly clamors, and they're where? Mostly those within myself. See? And so it had been ever since how blind I had been. So what had kept Bill blind? Pride, prejudice, and worldly clamors. See? So you might write those three things down, begin to examine yourself. Do they keep you blind? See? Do they keep you stuck? Do they keep you on the tracks? See, even if you are already an AA member. Okay, Bill goes back to the hospital. He says, at the hospital I was separated from alcohol for the last time. Treatment seemed wise, for I showed signs of the DTs, delirium tremens. And you remember the previous time in the detox, Dr. Silkworth had told him that if he went into the DTs again, he'd probably die of heart failure during the convulsions. See, so this last time, by the way, Bill went to the town's hospital with, he left his house with apparently 4 bottles of beer. He's drunk, see, and he took 4 bottles of beer to get him from his house to the hospital. See, and he walked into the lobby of the hospital draining the last one like this. And he hands the empty to Dr. Silkworth and staggers up to the bed he already knows about. See, and Kraft passes out right there. This guy is a real alcoholic. Okay? All right, next 4 paragraphs, Bill takes, see, the steps. Now, remember, at the point that he did this, there were only 6 steps, see, and they were the Oxford group steps. But you'll see that all 12 of them are right here. See, he takes action while he's detoxing in the hospital. See, a lot of people in AA think Bill got his spiritual experience free, see, and then came up with the steps later. See, and so a lot of us sit around waiting for the miracle to happen free. See? And telling ourselves, well, we'll take the steps after we're spiritually awakened. See? It's kind of like reverse thinking that a lot of us do. See? That kind of stuff. So you'll see that these steps are all out of order. So I'll tell you, we'll just look at them and see that you can see them all, and you'll notice that they're all kind of jumbled up here. It says, there I humbly offered myself to God as I then understood him to do with me as he would. I placed myself unreservedly under his care and direction. Step 3. Step 3. I admitted for the first time that of myself I was nothing, and that without him I was what? Lost. Steps 1 and 2. He admits he's powerless over alcohol, his life's unmanageable, and he has come to believe that a power greater than him can restore him to sanity. Okay, I ruthlessly faced my sins. Step 4. Ruthless means with no mercy or compassion. I ruthlessly faced my sins. Step 4. And became willing to have my newfound friend take them away, root and branch. Root is step 6, having to do with character defects. Branch is step 7, having to do with shortcomings. Became willing to have my newfound friend take them away, root and branch. Then he writes this amazing sentence. This guy who's about to go splat, has been on the doom curve for about 20 years, says, I have not had a drink since. Those of you who aren't familiar with Bill, he stayed sober until he died, which was 37 years later.